$3 million. Poof. The mansion was sold in accordance with court order. Gasps had filled the courtroom. Robyn cried as Kody fell into silence. This was not just a verdict. This was a reckoning years in the works. $3 million, and the mansion did not exist anymore. Time had stood still, the courtroom suspended in shock, except for one hard, unmistakable sound. Welcome back to Reality Recap. The gavel of the judge came down. The voice dropped like a gut punch. Reporters, attorneys, ex-family members, and reality television viewers collectively drew breath in shock. Pale and tight, jawed at the defense table, visibly shaking, Kody Brown became a shadow of his former self. In his place stood a man cornered and speechless. Next to him, Robyn, his legally married wife, fiercely devoted and visibly upset. Her mascara smeared across her cheeks like ink, tears gouging black arcs of shame. She held a scrunched-up tissue in one hand, Kody's wrist in the other, knuckles tight, as if his arrest could freeze the breakdown. It was done. This wasn't only a decision. This was a tumble from paradise. A television dynasty was exposed, sworn on the record. This court directs payment forthwith of $3 million in restitution to Meri Brown, Christine Brown, and Janelle Brown. The judge declared the payment would be made in full or in part by compulsory sale of the Flagstaff estate. The words dropped with the force of a hammer. Kody didn't flinch. He didn't say a word. He just slumped over, his face crimson jaw working with suppressed rage. Behind him, Christine, Janelle, and Meri sat in the gallery together. Tension had been anticipated, but what the court witnessed was solidarity. Having gone through all they had, they weren't here to gloat. They were stoic, quiet, determined. To them, this was not a victory. It was accountability. Robyn was the first to break down. A whimpering cry escaped as the gavel came down. She grasped one tissue, then another, shoulders shuddering as her sobs rang out soft, but unmistakable. For years, Robyn had been the favorite, the legally married wife, the one living in the big house, driving the better car, with the secret bank account, and even with all that privilege, the law found its way to her. Slowly, Kody turned toward her, wide eyes as though just seeing the tears. He looked around him, as if expecting someone unknown to jump to his aid. But the courtroom did not move. His attorney shuffled papers, head in his hands. No consolation offered. Former family members in the crowd were silent. Can we appeal this? Kody panted, desperation edging into his voice, but the attorney said nothing. No appeal could be filed. The judge had rendered his verdict. The proof was irrefutable, the damage irreparable, and the cameras kept on rolling. But how did it arrive at this point? How did America's formerly celebrated plural family descend from television stardom to a multi-billion-dollar courtroom fight? Christine's testimony had shocked even the judge. This wasn't an ambush. It took years to develop. The courtroom spent weeks on testimony. Sobbing, factual, relentless emails, bank statements, secret deeds, tape recordings, witness after witness of mismanaged money, shattered promises, and financial deception wrapped in religious fervor. But this episode, the ultimate judgment, was the one the world witnessed. All the local news channels, rumor websites, and EarthW fanatics on Twitter and TikTok watched. They weren't watching the series, they were watching the trial. This is not punishment. The judge had promised. This is restitution. A return to those who were defrauded in the name of family and faith. The words echoed through the courtroom like heavenly judgment. Christine gazed ahead. Janelle nodded. Meri's lips were pressed together, quivering. They had not only been sister wives, they had been business partners, co-parents, providers, and victims of a system that centered on Kody and Robyn, leaving the others in their wake. The court's findings were brutal. More than $2 million of common family money had been diverted into businesses owned by Kody and Robyn alone. Returns from TLC's last 4 seasons hadn't been shared as promised. The Flagstaff mansion, purchased for $1.3 million, was acquired without asking the whole family, and yet it was paid for with communal money from a number of wives. Credit cards belonging to Christine and Janelle were charged without their consent for house upgrades. They weren't even invited to stay there. The paper trail did not leave any room for debate, and when Kody said it was all part of the show, the judge could not help but chuckle. Ratings may be spurred on by theatrics, he stated, but they did not bring about justice. Kody slumped in his chair as Robyn leaned over to whisper in his ear. He didn't answer. Even now, with millions at stake, his pride wouldn't permit him to look into the eyes of the women who had been his world. He couldn't look at Christine. He couldn't look at Janelle, and Meri. He definitely couldn't face Meri because they hadn't left. They had exposed him. And still, the court's ruling progressed. The Flagstaff mansion was ordered listed for sale forthwith. Funds would be divided among the aggrieved wives and adult offspring. Kody and Robyn were prohibited from selling or transferring other property without the permission of a court-appointed trustee. It wasn't just a setback, it was the full-on fall of their empire. Outside the courthouse, a small group had assembled, fans, reporters, and erstwhile fans, holding homemade signs saying things like, "Justice for the sister wives and Robyn's tears can't buy the truth." The atmosphere was one of having passed through a storm. Inside, though, the fight was just starting. With the verdict out, TLC would be compelled to react. And that would mean subpoenas, depositions, and potentially additional lawsuits. This courtroom war was only Act 1. The following morning, a deputy sheriff brought official papers to the gates of the Flagstaff mansion. The Brown Empire was under court receivership. Robyn screamed on the porch. The mansion never was a house. From the moment Kody first took Christine through the vacant shell, explaining vaulted ceilings and views of sunsets and a place for all the kids to congregate, it was something more than real estate. It had been theater, but under the shine, a money manipulation tool. The courtroom knew that. The public sensed it in shocked silence and bitter gasps. This wasn't about squabbles between former spouses. It was fraud presented as family, and the $1.3 million Flagstaff house, Exhibit A, the day after the ruling, headlines erupted. The court reconvened to review the financial trail behind the mansion. Christine had initiated the investigation, driven by a gut feeling. The numbers never added up. One moment, Kody insisted they were broke. The next, he appeared with new furniture and contractors. "We're investing in our future," he told her, but she wasn't included. The judge leaned forward when the forensic accountant presented the evidence. There were 3 different LLCs. One was in the name of variations of Kody and Robyn's names. The others kept Meri, Janelle, and Christine out altogether. But the news got worse. These LLCs had been paid TLC revenues, donations from the fans, and embezzled shared family money. Then, the knockout punch. "Your Honor," the expert witness stated, "we discovered $217,000 of joint earnings deposited directly from a Brown family trust into Robyn Brown's private escrow account for the down payment on the Flagstaff house." There were murmurs in the courtroom. Christine's attorney called for formal verification that the money had been withdrawn under the oral agreement. All wives had equal rights to TLC profits. The judge approved without hesitation. How had Robyn managed to get away with it all along? Janelle's account of food budgets and school payments amazed even Robyn's own lawyer. Finally, Kody spoke from the defense table. His voice was rough, confidence lost. "We determined as a family that Robyn's house was going to be the home base," he insisted. "That is why it is larger. That is why we needed it." The court no longer concerned themselves with intentions. It was all about the receipts. What resulted was a complex web of transfers, shrouded ownership, and concealed assets. With one thing certain, Kody and Robyn had used the family account like their own piggy bank. Then Janelle stepped into the witness box. Her tone was even, but her eyes betrayed years of sorrow. "There were times I had to say no to my kids for items as mundane as food, braces, even school field trips," she said. "And yet I got to see marble countertops being put into a home I wasn't even permitted to go inside." The judge arched an eyebrow. "You weren't permitted into the Flagstaff home?" Janelle shook her head. "Only if I made an appointment beforehand. Robyn told me it was for privacy." The courtroom gasped. Even Robyn's attorney winced. Next were the receipts. A document titled, "House Expenses," was admitted into evidence. $12,000 for customized chandeliers, $4,500 for foreign tile flooring, $7,200 to reconstruct a walk-in closet, $9,800 in home security, plus a handful of $200 plus fees for decor and entertainment enhancements, all paid out of the same joint account Christine had attempted to use for Yabel's surgery, only to be rejected. Christine was up next. She took a deep breath and smoothed out a crumpled page of paper. The courtroom held its breath. Even Kody seemed uncomfortable. It was a handwritten 2016 budget, signed by both wives, on how TLC revenue would be allocated 4 ways post. Tax in the corner, Kody had scrawled, fairness over and over. Christine held it up. "We believed in this system," she said, until someone decided to change the rules. She locked eyes on Robyn. Robyn looked away. Then came the video. Christine's attorney cued a clip on the overhead screen. A segment never aired, filmed during the Flagstaff shoot. Kody was caught on a hot mic, laughing. "She doesn't know I'm pulling from the trust. I'll fix it later. Or she'll forget." Christine's face didn't change. The courtroom exploded. Gasps, murmurs, even the sound of a pen falling in the back. Robyn stood stock. Still, the judge wrote a furious hand. "Play that again," he ordered. This time, the soft sobbing of Robyn was audible. Kody's lawyer attempted to object, but it was too late. The paper trail, verbal agreements, and tapes all indicated premeditation, intent to defraud. Last but not least, the judge turned to Kody. "Mr. Brown, do you deny misuse of family resources without authorization?" Kody hesitated, opened his mouth, and shut it. His silence was louder than any explanation. But the courtroom's biggest surprise wasn't money. Exactly. It was the kids. Journalists rushed to print stories from within the courthouse. Tweets circulated. News flashes appeared. Brown mansion paid for with family cash. Court makes ruling. Robyn Brown wails as secret payments are exposed. Kody may be investigated for tax fraud. The world was onlooker. Not TLC, not Season 18, but real-world repercussions. The judge did not try to stall. He signed the emergency motion putting the Flagstaff house into court. Supervised trusteeship. It would go on sale right away, and proceeds would be frozen until restitution was complete. That house, with its tacky doors, crystal hardware, and several fireplaces, was now a shrine to deceit. As Christine exited the witness stand, her gaze crossed with Kody's for the first time since the divorce. He shifted away. The next day, Robyn made a public declaration outside the courthouse. But what she said stunned her lawyer and brought a smile back to Christine for the first time in months. The courtroom already knew the figures, the mansion bereft of pretense, the bank statements, hidden video clips, and Robyn's tears running under the cold courtroom lights like misplaced props. But nobody was prepared for Christine. Not the judge, not Kody, and not even Robyn. That day, Christine stood up from the gallery, a threadbare folder in one hand and a lemon-colored legal pad in the other. She didn't walk like a witness. She walked like a woman who'd waited 10 years to speak. Christine came up to the stand with reserved confidence, tweaked the microphone, and stared at Kody. Not for sympathy, not for theatrics, but because after all this time, he owed her his attention. Kody swallowed, lips strained thin, but did not avert his eyes. "Please enter your name for the record," the judge directed. "Christine Ruth Brown, your relationship to the defendant." She hesitated, then stated resolutely, "Ex-wife. And a former business partner." Just those few words changed the atmosphere in the room. This was not merely about polygamy. It was now about business, fraud, deception, and finances. As opposed to marriage, Christine pulled out her folder and brandished a yellow sheet. "This is the original revenue sharing contract that we all signed back in 2014, after our second contract renewal on TLC." She passed it to the bailiff, who handed it to the judge. It was simple. 25% of the profits of the show would go to each wife. Kody had simply included an additional 10% for his leadership responsibilities on his family. That was all, and it had his signature on the bottom. The judge examined it. "This appears to be legitimate," he said. Kody's attorney shifted uncomfortably. "Now, let me tell you what actually did happen," Christine went on. She flipped over her yellow pad and read on. Season 15, Christine got 6%. Season 16 to 4%. Season 17 to 0%. Her voice didn't shake. Her hands stayed firm. Robyn, on the other hand, appeared appalled. Christine continued. Those percentages had been diverted to an account in Robyn Brown's LLC, Sol and Shield Media. Gasps echoed throughout the courtroom. Kody glared at Robyn. "You said it was temporary?" he growled. Christine did not blink. The mic picked up her response. "Temporary 3 seasons. Kody. That is not temporary. That is theft." There was a moment next that left the room quiet. Christine drew out a letter, one that even made the judge stop. She reached back into the folder. "This," she said, unfolding a folded envelope, "is a letter from my daughter truly to Kody. Written the night I explained to her we couldn't afford her surgery." The judge nodded. Christine read aloud. "Dear Dad, I know money is tight. I don't need the surgery if it is too much. I just want to play soccer again one day. Love, truly," Christine cried and paused. That same week, Robyn had spent $18,600 on a spa room. The courtroom fell silent. Reporters halted typing. Robyn's eyes welled up with tears as she covered her mouth. It wasn't about money anymore. It was personal. Christine wasn't done. She faced Kody head on, addressing only him. "You said it was temporary," he growled. Christine did not blink. The mic picked up her response. "Temporary. 3 seasons. Kody, that is not temporary. That is theft." There was a moment next that left the room quiet. Christine drew out a letter, one that even made the judge stop. She reached back into the folder. "This," she said, unfolding a folded envelope, "is a letter from my daughter truly to Kody. Written the night I explained to her we couldn't afford her surgery." The judge nodded. Christine read aloud. "Dear Dad, I know money is tight. I don't need the surgery if it is too much. I just want to play soccer again one day." "Love, truly," Christine cried, and paused. That same week, Robyn had spent $18,600 on a spa room. The courtroom fell silent. Reporters halted typing. Robyn's eyes welled up with tears as she covered her mouth. It wasn't about money anymore. It was personal. Christine wasn't done. She faced Kody head on, addressing only him. "You lied to your family. You lied to me. And you didn't just hide money. You rewrote history." She pulled out a flash drive. On it, audio files from family gatherings, dates juxtaposed with bank withdrawals, quotes from adult children, even one voicemail from Kody slurred slightly, "Let Robyn take it. The others will calm down, they always do." Kody's lawyer stood up to protest, but the judge stopped him. "Counselor, unless you challenge the content, sit down." The defense sat, Christine went on. "You were always speaking of the team, but the team that mattered to you was the one Robyn quarterbacked. And we were the rest paying ticket prices. It was poetic and lethal." The jury sat agog. The judge frantically jotted. Even the bailiff looked dazed. Kody, undone and empty, had nothing to pass on. No television image to fall back on. He mumbled something, but it was too late. The court was hearing Christine, anything else. The judge inquired. Christine took a deep breath. "Number, I just want the truth on the record." And it was. But what ensued outside the courthouse an hour later stunned everyone. Robyn, shaken, made a public statement, and her words flipped the case on its head. As Christine took her seat alongside Janelle and Meri, the courtroom reacted in a surprising manner, a soft ripple of applause, not from the crowd, but the jury. For the first time in this acrimonious, protracted trial, someone had articulated clearly, and the truth had been observed. Christine, Janelle, and Meri didn't cry or hug. They nodded. They had long suspected this, and now someone else finally realized it too. Court was adjourned for the day. Outside, reporters had gathered with microphones and flashes, but the news was out. News headlines burst. Christine destructs Kody in court with signed profit deal. Sister wives bombshell. Robyn took it all. Truly's letter goes viral. The judge had clearly been shaken. TLC would not comment, but fans did. Hashtags such as #Justice and #Fortune trended within minutes. But the moment that literally rocked the internet that night wasn't Christine's. It was Robyn's leaving the courtroom. She went up to the podium and spoke 5 words that stunned reporters into silence. "I didn't know the truth." It was one thing listening to ex-wives testify. It was another to face reality face to face. The judge had heard wives complain about money and infidelity before, but what followed was new. For the first time ever, on or off camera, the Brown kids were going to testify against their dad. Not in magazines, not in interviews, but on the stand, and the reality they were carrying would destroy the courtroom. Savannah Mae Brown, Janelle's daughter, was called by the bailiff. She stood up slowly from the gallery, swished her mother's hand casually as she went by, and moved toward the witness stand with deliberate, unshakable steps. No drama, no tears, just resolve at 23, Savannah had matured under the shadow of plural marriage, fame, and mayhem. She had watched her mother make sacrifices, her siblings do without, and her father promise and fail. Today, however, she wasn't a daughter. She was a witness. "Savannah," the judge started, "can you tell me how financial choices at home directly affected you?" She nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." She took a breath and said words that would ring out in the courtroom. "There were winters we didn't have heat. My mother had to beg the church for food. Robyn's kids had private tutors, new clothes, excursions. I don't begrudge them having those things. I begrudge that we were told we didn't have enough." Kody shifted uncomfortably. Savannah addressed him directly. "There was enough. You just spent it all on her." There it was, the heartache behind the headlines. Not bank records or lawsuits, but a daughter's disappointment echoing around the room. Then there was Garrison Brown. Robert Garrison Brown to everyone else, but Garrison to his family, a National Guard veteran, quietly so in public, he now spoke nothing quietly. Hand on the Bible, the other raised high, he swore to tell the truth, and then bared everything. "My father said I didn't have money for my car. Then he said I needed to work to pay for it. Okay, I did. But 2 weeks later, I caught a bill for Robyn's Amazon shopping cart. $2,800 in holiday decorations. He said it was for family togetherness. I didn't even get to sit at Thanksgiving that year." The jury appeared as though disbelief itself had arrived. Garrison went on. "He lived in a mansion with an alarm system and a fireplace in the bedroom. My siblings leased small apartments, struggling college bills. Meanwhile, the man who uttered, 'Family is everything,' played favorites like we were children playing on a playground." Kody clenched his teeth. His lawyer fidgeted uncomfortably, but the harm was done. These were not just fiscal facts, they were evidence of emotional abandonment. And then there were the texts. Christine's attorney showed screenshots from the siblings' group chat, messages laced with desperation and frustration. One, "Mom says, we can't use the joint card anymore. Dad gave Robyn her own last week." And another, "Robyn's kids are flying first class. I am sleeping in my car between shifts. And the worst part, I feel like we were only ever good enough for the camera." Garrison glared at the judge. This wasn't a family. This was a show. And the only ones paid fair was Robyn's household. The courtroom grew quiet once more. Then Aspen Brown, Christine's oldest, took the stand. Soft-spoken and peaceful, she spoke scorching truth. "I always believed in plural marriage," she told me. "I thought we were demonstrating the world an alternative kind of love." Her voice quivered. Not a sob exactly, but enough that Robyn felt obligated to look away. But it turned into a regime of control. Dad used religion as armor and money as a tool. She displayed a signed promissory note from Kody, promising $10,000 to her and her sister McKelty for school. Neither one of them had ever seen a penny. The note was signed and dated. The judge's eyebrow went up. "Ever been paid back?" "No, Your Honor." Christine sat silently in the gallery, tears brimming but her expression calm. Now it was evident. This case was not just about money. It was about what was taken in silence. How many birthdays Kody missed out on, how many school plays he sat through, how many lies were being told to keep one individual comfortable at the cost of 18 children's sense of security. And still, what happened after the kids departed from the stand stunned everybody even more. The judge adjourned court and addressed Kody directly. Following the last testifying, he initiated a short recess. Resuming court, he did something out of the ordinary. Talked to Kody spontaneously, without a verdict in hand. "Just the truth, Mr. Brown," he said. "This courtroom has now heard from your former wives and your children. In all my years on the bench, I've never seen such consistency in testimony from a family this large." He leaned forward. "It is my opinion that the emotional abandonment reported here, though not criminal, stems directly from your financial decisions." Then he uttered words that caused even the court reporter to stop typing. "This court will not merely decide on bank accounts. We are determining the human toll of greed. Prepare for greater sanctions." Euphorises swept through the gallery. Christine shut her eyes for a moment. Janelle let out a sigh. "It is finally happening, Kody." He remained quiet, but Robyn hissed something to her lawyer and started to take notes. That evening, a fresh paper was submitted to the court, Robyn's affidavit. Its words would remain private until the ultimate hearing. But the buzz had already begun. Robyn had betrayed Kody, and her declaration might swing everything. The final day of court dawned on gray skies. Rain pattered gently against the windows of the courthouse, a poetic backdrop. The storm had passed, but cleanup was just starting. The gallery was packed. Reporters, former family friends, even representatives from TLC, all sitting stony-faced, mouths open. The greatest tension, however, lay around a sealed envelope on the bench, Robyn Brown's affidavit. What was inside, revealed in secret, would change everything. The bailiff brought the room to order. Kody walked in with noticeably slower gait. His suit, which had been so crisp, was rumpled. His face, which had been so camera-ready, was unshaven. Gone was the confidence that had him both family patriarch and television brand. No one accompanied him. Robyn showed up 5 minutes after the agreed time. By herself, she did not look in Kody's direction. She sat in the gallery, 2 rows back from Christine, Janelle, and Meri. The symbolism was clear. The court is now in session, the judge announced. He didn't lose any time. Throughout this trial, we have heard from spouses, children, accountants, and considered extensive media evidence. Putting on his glasses, he went on. Today we pass judgment, not merely on assets and ownership, but on responsibility. Kody clasped the arms of his chair. This court finds that Kody Brown and Robyn Brown practiced systematic misappropriation of joint assets of all members of the Brown family partnership. The judge said, there was no gasp this time. Everyone knew it was coming. In so doing, the defendants inflicted direct financial damage on Christine, Janelle, and Meri, as well as emotional and educational damage to their common children. Christine closed her eyes. Janelle breathed out. Meri nodded. Then the figures. The court directed $3 million in restitution, half to each of the plaintiffs. Christine and Janelle took a collective breath. Meri's hands shook. To carry out the verdict, the Flagstaff mansion would be put under immediate court supervision and on the market within 7 days. All the proceeds would go into the restitution fund. Kody's head hung low. The mansion, his baby, his display of strength, was lost. Then the judge addressed Robyn, in consideration of a recently filed affidavit by Mrs. Robyn Brown. The audience shifted. Janelle leaned in. Even Kody's eyes narrowed. This court acknowledges her cooperation and voluntary abandonment of all related LLC interests. Robyn Brown was thereby discharged from any additional financial sanction other than the shared restitution fund. Kody blinked tearfully. Robyn had stood in court openly and in accordance with the law, but it was what the judge went on to say that rocked TLC, the courtroom, and millions of fans around the globe. In addition, the judge asserted, Kody Brown is enjoined from conducting, transferring, or operating any business entity under the Brown family name or trademark without prior written permission of all the adult parties. That was it for Brown family entertainment. No spin-offs, no reruns, no profiting from the tale. Without written permission from the women he had lied to. Then came the coup d'etat. All current and future TLC revenues pertaining to sister wives are to be frozen until a full audit and redistribution under this order. Gasp cut through the courtroom. The show itself might be done. And if it wasn't, Kody no longer had the reins. The judge settled back. The gavel came down one final time, louder than any other, not just in the courtroom, but in headlines across the board. Outside the courthouse, there waited. Signs aloft, cameras prepared, news vehicles stationed. The doors opened. Christine emerged first, shoulders set, a small but unmistakable grin on her face. She did not wave or pose, she walked. Janelle came next, her adult sons on her arm. Meri was next, with her lawyer and older daughter in tow. No words were necessary. There had already been spoken in court. And then Robyn, somber, unflustered, no mascara running, grasping a printed statement. She stepped to the podium and read, I will no longer be part of any business projects or media deals involving Kody Brown. I am fully cooperating with the court. I apologize for the money choices made during my marriage and assume responsibility for my role in the losses. A few of the crowd booed. Some of the crowd rose agog. Redemption? Or survival? Kody departed last alone. No family, no entourage, only him. The click of shutters signaled the public downfall of a patriarch. While back in Flagstaff, Real estate agents were making appointments to view the high-priced mansion, once bristling with cameras, manipulated meals, and reality television moments, was now simply another listing. 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, heated floors,